July the 3rd, 2019. To begin tonight, Commissioner Martinez has something he'd like to read in regards to the 4th of July, so we'll let him do that, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chair. Just going to read this. Can everybody hear me okay? This is about Independence Day, a little bit of history. I think we all know about it, but it's good to remind ourselves from time to time. On July 4th, 1776, which was 243 years ago, the 13 colonies claimed their independence from England, an event which eventually led to the formation of the United States. For each year on the 4th of July, also known as Independence Day, Americans celebrate this historic event. Conflict between the colonies and England was already a year old when the colonies convened the Continental Congress in Philadelphia in the summer of 1776. In a June 7th session in the Pennsylvania State House, later turned into the Independence Hall, Richard Henry Lee of Virginia presented a resolution with the famous words, "Resolved, that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free of independent states, that these are absolved from all allegiances to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved." Lee's words were the impetus for the drafting of the formal Declaration of Independence, although the resolution was not followed up on immediately. The committee of 5 was appointed to draft the declaration, and the task itself fell on Thomas Jefferson of Virginia. Discussions of Jefferson's Declaration of Independence resulted in some minor changes, but the spirit of the document went unchanged. The process of the revisions of the Continental Congress began July 1st, then continued through July 3rd, and then into the late afternoon of July 4th, when the Declaration was officially adopted. Of the 13 colonies, 9 voted in favor of the Declaration, 2, Pennsylvania and South Carolina, voted no, Delaware was undecided, and New York abstained. John Hancock, President of the Continental Congress, signed the Declaration of Independence. It was said that John Hancock signed his name with great flourish so that England's King George could read it without his spectacles. Today, the original copy of the Declaration is housed in the National Archives in Washington, D.C., and the 4th of July has been designated as a national holiday to commemorate the day of the United States laid down its claim to be free and an independent nation. So, being that we're that close to the 4th of July, I wanted to share that with everybody, kind of as a reminder, be proud of who we are, where we've come from. Obviously, back in the day, there was conflict then as well. I don't know that we can ever get away from that, but as long as we can have peaceful disagreements and appreciate where we've come and where we're going, I think that's what makes America great. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would you all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We temporarily excuse Commissioner Hopes. He has been with the 7 County Coalition on a tour of some property, and they evidently got locked in, couldn't get out for as quick as they thought they could. So he'll be here shortly. The first item on our agenda today is a presentation of the Employee of the Month by Rose Barnes. It's come up.
Commissioners, it's a great pleasure this month. Our Employee of the Month is Shelley Wright. She's from our Children's Justice Center. And Shelley will be here in December, 15 years that she's been with the county. She does an amazing job out there. There's 2 parts. There's the Children's Justice Center and the Family Support Center. And I've worked with her closely, and I can tell you she does an amazing job. But Brenda was the one that nominated her, and I'm going to let her talk and say some kind words.
Well, I think this is a long time coming. I can't remember when I called you or texted you. It's been early
It was in,
this year.
it was actually, I think, in January.
Okay, it was. I told Shelley, I says, I'm, you know, I didn't tell her what I was doing. I just said, you know, anyway. I just feel this is a long time coming. Shelley is one of the best. You know, my motto now is don't pick your job, but pick your boss. I think that makes such a difference where you work and who you work for. Shelley just is a wonderful person, inside and out, and approachable. We have so many deadlines. I've just seen so much stress, and she's just calm outside. Sometimes she shuts her door this much, but she knows if we need her, we can just knock on the door, and she's there for us. But I started right after she did, a year after she did, and she called me and she said, "You've got the job." And I thought, oh my gosh, I thought I was happy where I was, and I thought, I really like her. I think I'm going to take this job. And I've never looked back. So I just want to say thank you so much. And I love I love her. She's just sweet, kind, and our center has grown. I can't even tell you, from that little house that was torn down. We've just grown so much, and I think we're going to have an open house soon, and so we're excited. Shelley deserves maybe Employee of the Year or 15 years, I don't know, but that's my thoughts. So thank you.
Want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm very honored. Thank you, Brenda, for recognizing me, and Rose. I just wanted to say that it's not all me. It is my entire center. I couldn't do anything. The center would not be where it's at today without all of the support from the staff, the county, our friends, everybody who they put in countless hours to keep us running and serving our families and our children and our community. So I'm very honored and very grateful for your recognition. Thank you so much. Thanks.
I will say, Shelley, too, it's in a way sad that we need the center, but it's a blessing at the same time that we have it. It serves its purpose very well here, and you do an outstanding job. So thank you, and that was well deserved. And thank you for Brenda for nominating her.
Yeah.
Should have happened a long time ago.
Well, Shelley, you're a real standout in our county employment, and you do a real service to those families that are in crisis. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you and your staff, all of you. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm just going to stay up here.
Rose, you can stay up here. Yeah, item number 2 on the agenda is recognizing Patty Payne for becoming a citizen of this country.
Yes.
Another fitting thing for the 4th of July. Absolutely. So, Patty, come on up.
Come on up here. This wasn't an easy task for her to do. And she had a lot of help from her coworkers here, from her family. And I know she was stressed to the max about getting this done. And when she got up there was a whole story. When she got up there, they told her her appointment was canceled. And so she insisted that she stay and get her test taken. So I am really proud of her, proud to have her be part of our country, part of our county, and part of our family here. So thank you, Patty.
Thank you so much for doing this for
You're
me.
probably going to say something.
So,
We are. You're a valued employee. We sure appreciate you, and as you've gone through this process of coming to the country and becoming a citizen, this is really what this is all about. Our ancestors went through this at some point, and we live in a real special place. All you have to do is live outside of the United States to appreciate what we have here. So thank you. And we
Thank you
have a
so much.
certificate here for you we'd like to hand to you.
Thank you, and I really appreciate it.
Casey, I'm so glad you made it back. Okay, one more just for the record. Perfect, thank you.
Looks like she has lots and lots of friends. Thank you all for coming.
And I apologize for being late. I was behind a locked gate at the mercy of other people to try and get back here.
You made it for the important part. Okay, item 3 on the agenda is the approval of minutes from June 19th. Is there any corrections on the minutes anybody has?
I saw no corrections.
No, I have no corrections.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is consideration of,
We have one more set of minutes.
oh,
for the
there's
June
2
12th.
sets of minutes. Sorry about that. You gotta keep me in line. So the second set of minutes is for the Manti LaSalle preseason fire meeting that we had on June the 12th here in these chambers. Any comments on those minutes?
Again, no change.
I don't have any changes. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Commissioner, just a note on this, that just for the public, I know it was a public meeting, but for the information of the public, they're concerned about the high ground being a fire potential, but they're more concerned about the low ground with all the tall grasses, the June grass and everything. So please be careful, especially the 4th of July. There is a large fire potential in the low ground where we are, even with all the moisture that we've had through the winter.
Sheriff, do you have anything to add to that?
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, that's where I see the biggest issue.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 4, consideration of a possible approval of amendment to the Employee Policy and Procedure Manual pertaining to work absences. Christian, you want to?
I
like
think
that.
I think Rose and Scott worked on. Let's have Rose maybe talk about
Okay.
this one. She's more in the know.
Commissioners, the change is going to be in our employee conduct, Title III. And what we're asking is we're going to add, there's an addition in reporting work absences. There's a lot of safety concerns if somebody isn't reporting where they are in case something, we hope nothing ever happens. But we are asking employees that if you leave, not just for breaks, but for extended leaves, if you're gone for the day or if you're going to be going to a meeting that takes you away, Casey, we would have not known where he was behind the locked gate. We
He
didn't
could
know
have been there
today.
for a month,
Right, yeah.
but we knew where he was.
So we're asking that that happens and that supervisors report to you if you're directly over them, so that someone knows where you are during the day. And there's accountability, and we're asking for that. So we're asking that change. And also in the same policy, there's an amendment to the SEMP policy that we're just asking that employees working in the sheriff's office be added, in the road department, that they can have scents there, and that additionally dispensing of artificial scents is permitted in any restroom. So they're just minor changes.
I had one question on the reporting of work absences. On that
Yes.
last paragraph, it says, it shall also be a violation of these policies for an employee to fail to keep an accurate daily log of when he or she reports to work or the job site. Is that common practice at all of the, or do they just swipe in, swipe out?
I think most of them just swipe in and swipe out.
So that's all we're asking them to do, not keep a written log of the
No,
daily work?
no, that's too
Okay.
cumbersome. I wouldn't want an employee to do that because that takes away from the work. They're gonna be so detailed in reporting
Okay.
where they are and what they're doing, so,
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the new policy pertaining to employee abandonment or employee or
Reporting.
absentee.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you, Rose. The next item is a consideration of a possible approval of amendment to the 2020 CIB list to include the Helper City Amendment. Mayor
Good
Peterman.
afternoon. Thank you for entertaining this motion. Helper City was looking at pursuing a GIS system, and unbeknownst to us, a state person contacted us and said there was a new program being run through the CIB for planning and development specifically, and that a GIS system fit it kind of tailor-made. And obviously, I did not request this be included in the CIB list back in April when we were reviewing because I didn't know about this new program. But it just opened up this fiscal year, and you don't even have to appear in person. You submit your application, and if they accept it, they pay 50%, and then the city will, of course, be responsible for the remaining 50%. So I would love your consideration to add this to the CIB list. It won't impact any of the priorities that the county has already delivered to CIB.
I don't have any questions.
I don't
Do you
either.
have any, Tony?
Just a general question, is there any deadline as far as adding to the CIB? I know we made the adjustment for the ambulance.
I don't think so.
I think you can adjust it at any time because it comes up for review periodically. It's kind of a rolling list, and so they'll catch it when it comes to the top. Do we know what number this would be on the
I
list?
believe it'd be 13. So
Okay.
I think or was the ambulance 13? This would be 14.
This might be 14.
And I
So-
did talk to the AOG, who added it to the list, and I believe submitted it for you as well, because they were obviously in the loop for this new program, so.
I think it's a good thing.
Okay. Any other
I'll-
discussion?
No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we amend the 2020 CIB list to add the Helper City amendment.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mayor.
Appreciate
you.
it.
Item 6 is consideration and possible approval of an interlocal agreement with the Area Agency on Aging for Older American Act funding. I've read through that. Is that something you're prepared to talk about? Okay.
So with the Older American Acts, this is done through the Association of Governments, and it's a contract between Carbon, Emery, and Grand counties, the three counties that split the Older American Acts funding. It's all based on population of the three counties of those that are 60 and older. So a portion will go to Grand, Emery, and Carbon counties. Last year, I believe Carbon County received about $145,000 or so, something along those lines. And it's usually about the same. Later on in the year, if there's any more funding that is available, that will just be incorporated into the agreement as well. So it's just has been standard procedure in the past, just that we inform you. And it's just a split between the three counties. And irregardless of how it falls, it's same match for the 3 count. Well, not the same, based on the populations for the 3 counties. So it's a fair split.
It's just a continuation year to year of the
Correct.
monies that we get through the AOG 4.
Exactly, and we just have to renew that every year so that we can continue to go forward with pursuing that.
If I could, Robbie, while we have your ear.
Sure.
It seems that our citizens here are a little bit more on the elderly side.
Mhm.
I'm over 50, so I can say that now. Do you see that there's a need for more services or possibly more money for seniors that would be beneficial to the county? Not so much what you're addressing here, but just overall for the county.
Sure. So with the Older American Acts, most of that all goes towards food and socialization, and that's split that way. We can always use more funding. I think it would be beneficial when the time comes and funding is available. It would be great to have a 5-day or 5 days a week that we could have the center open again. And we understand with budget constraints and everything, the decisions that have to be made on behalf of the county. But as far as the services and everything that are available with what we have currently, I think we're doing a good job providing the services that we have for the 4 days a week. If we had a 5th day, we'd be able to run the center a little bit more efficiently as far as cleanings, making sure that everything is where it should be, and we could add a few more programs. So I think it would be beneficial in the long run. I don't know that would be anything possible with what we have in the budget currently to be able to go forward with that. So it would be need to be more money in the budget to open it up to 5 days a week. But I think it would be beneficial. Yes.
Okay. I think those are things that we, as a commission, will have to discuss and
Certainly.
maybe come up with some ideas. So I appreciate your input.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, doesn't have to be something that we do in the next budget year, but I think 5 to 10 year plan should be something that we look at to getting it back to the 5 days a week, if it is within the budget and the means of the county.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement for the Agency on Aging for Older American Act.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Item 7 is an agreement with Wastewater Logistics for vault toilet cleaning. Casey, do you want to
Yeah, I can take
help
that.
us with that one?
This year, we have asked that Wastewater Logistics, they've been servicing the porta potty, or not the porta potty, the vault toilet in 9 Mile Canyon. A few years ago, we added the Hilltop, or the Wood Hill vault toilet, and we asked him to give us a price on that. And when he came back with an increased price of the $256 per unit. I did have conversation with him about why is it so expensive for the toilet close. That's so much closer, and he said that actually it's all done by routes. And for him, it's more inconvenient to do the one on Wood Hill because it's off of a paved road. It's off of his beaten route to do that one. So it is an increase. We can ask for further discussions, but right now he's pretty firm on the price for both. The one in 9 Mile Canyon, he services several porta potties and other vault toilets for the BLM, so it's right off the road, so it's more convenient according to him. It's tied to a route. So that's the conversations that I've had with Jesse. He's been at the same price. It was just right around $200 a toilet for the one in 9 Mile for about 10 years, and he says he just can't do it for that cost anymore.
Great. I have no questions on it.
The one thing that we'll need to look at is an amendment in our budget. I'm sure there's probably money in tourism, but we didn't budget this much in that line item for the vault toilet, so we'll need to make sure we add that to the amendments. It'll be just within her own budget, but
Okay, Seth, you'll look that up and make sure to note that. Any further discussion?
No.
Let's have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement with Waste and Water Logistic.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 8 is a public hearing to receive public comment on the federal build grant application for the reconstruction of Ridge Road. So why don't we go into a public comment? It's 4:57.
Commissioners, maybe we could, I think you probably ought to give a little explanation as to the nature of
What it is.
the project, and then maybe we can see if there's any comments after we explain what the nature of the project is.
Casey, could you do that?
I can do that. And Christian, you can help me if I mess up somewhere along the way. The build grant is a federal grant. It's a 100% grant. We've been working with Jones and Emil on submitting this grant. We submitted it last year. There was only one county in the state that received any funding, and they only received partial funding to do half of a road. So I'm not sure how this will turn out this year. Hopefully we'll have a good opportunity. We have good support from all of the businesses on Ridge Road. This process is part of being able to submit the build grant. We have to receive public comment. The intent of the grant is to do some add some turning lanes on Ridge Road, as well as do some pavement reconstruction from one end from Highway 10 all the way to Highway 6, so that we can repair the road. It'll probably be a full depth reclamation where they go in, mill it up, add some base layer to it, and then put new asphalt on top of it to be able to handle the truck traffic that we currently see there. There has been some additional traffic which causes concern for us as a county on maintaining that road with all the oil traffic coming out of the Uinta Basin. So that's the reason why we're going after this grant. We obviously don't have a whole lot of extra funds laying around, so if we can get some help from the federal government, it is for, the grant is specifically for economic purposes, and Ridge Road is purely economic for us. We do have some constituents that live out there, but the majority of it is industrial use.
And being that Ridge Road is right around that opportunity zone, we've got a lot of focus on that road right now, I guess would be a good way to put it.
Right.
So it's very well needed.
Anything I missed, Christian?
I think that covers it very thoroughly.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Is there any public comment regarding this? Thumbs up from Mayor. Thank you. Seeing none, then we'll close our public hearing at 4:59. Now what do we do with it?
There's no real approval, is there?
No, I think this was just part of the process of, you just have to show you had a public hearing as you apply, and this is an application, I believe, that's being done by the commission, and so clearly you've authorized it and want to go forward with it, so I think there's nothing else that needs to be done at this point.
Okay.
I think what we can do also is take our public comments last year, which were also favorable, and add them to this year's public comments were thumbs up, so.
All right, let's move to the next item. Consideration and possible approval of ordinance 516 to modify county procedures for sale of real property.
Commissioners, if I might explain this one, this is what we are trying to do here is go a little more in depth with respect to what the county has to do if it wishes to sell, exchange, or dispose of a parcel of real property. The statute, 1750-312 of Utah Code Annotated, says that you have to kind of look at it in two ways. You have to have a process for a significant parcel of real property, and then you can have a different process for real property which is not deemed significant. The statute specifically says the county can define what constitutes a significant parcel of real property. Previously in the procurement code, you said that a parcel of real property with a value of over $100,000 is a significant parcel of real property. If we are dealing with a significant parcel of real property, we have to do certain things before we can sell it. The state code says that you have to have it appraised by two separate independent appraisers in order to determine a fair market value. It also says you have to then have a public hearing before you dispose of it, at which you take public comment on the manner by which you want to dispose of the property. And it sets forth how you are to do a public notice. So we wanted to kind of get into the purpose of our code is to set forth not just the fact that we acknowledge that we have to hold the public hearing and that we have to get two appraisals, but to define how we can sell it. So the changes I'm suggesting to the procurement code in this ordinance start out by saying that the county, in determining whether a parcel has a value of over $100,000, that could be determined by referring to property tax rolls. So if our property tax record says the value is over $100,000, then it's a significant parcel of property. If you've received a good faith offer to purchase property that somebody just makes out of the blue for an amount in excess of $100,000, then you're to consider the property as a significant parcel. Or if you have any other good and reliable evidence that the fair market value exceeds $100,000. We then go on to say that after you've gotten two appraisals on the significant parcel of property, you can sell it after you have a public hearing. And the notice for the public hearing is to state what the fair market value is based on the appraisals, that you intend to sell or exchange the property, and the intended method of disposal. So you go on in this ordinance to indicate that you might sell the property or dispose of it in 5 different ways. And those ways are by listing the property for sale through a realtor, by issuing requests for proposals, by competitive sealed bids, at live auction, or by donation to another governmental entity, including a community reinvestment agency or to a charitable organization. And we also state that all sales made by a realtor, by competitive sealed bids, or at live auction shall go to the party making the highest bid. So if you choose to sell it by listing it with a realtor, by doing a competitive bid, or having a live auction, you must then sell it to the highest bidder. By the way, the notice is to also go out to all neighboring landowners as well, so that they're aware of it. You can sell it to somebody who is not the highest bidder if what you've done is done a request for proposals, which might require proposals for management or development of the property. So if you put out a request for proposals and you say, we want proposals not just for a price, but we want to know how you're going to manage this property and what you're going to do with it and how it's going to contribute to our economic development, you may sell that property to somebody else other than the highest bidder, as long as you are specific in your request for proposals as to what you're requiring them to make. Nevertheless, if you do that, the proposal still has to meet fair market value. You can also donate property to another governmental entity or a 501c3 charitable organization, or sell it for less than fair market value, because of the fact that you deem that contribution to be of benefit to the public health or welfare, the public's health or welfare or safety. It also says in here that if you receive an unsolicited offer for a significant parcel of property, you may require, before you consider that offer, you may require the person making that offer to pay for the appraisals that would otherwise be required. Or you can still pay for them yourself, but you may say, well, we weren't looking to sell this, we weren't interested in selling it, you've given us a very good price, go get some appraisals and let's see what those come back at. Just because somebody pays for an appraisal doesn't obligate you to sell the property. Also, if you've listed it through competitive bids, or you've gotten a realtor and somebody has met the asking price, there's nothing in here that requires you to then go through with the sale. You can pull back at that point, even though you may have received offers that are for fair market value. With respect to a parcel of property that's not deemed significant, you do not need to have a public hearing, but you still have to make a finding in an open and public meeting that the proposed disposition is in the public interest and complies with public law. You may sell it by any of the same methods that you would for a significant parcel of property. You're to notify any adjoining owners of property that it's going to be sold. And with this one, because sometimes the county owns small parcels of property in residential areas, you can also choose to sell it to a neighboring property owner who's selling it for less than fair market value, or whose bid is not the highest, if you find that the property is needed in order for an adjoining landowner to access his property, or the sale of the property will allow the adjoining landowner's property to come into compliance with the county code. So sometimes houses were built years ago that wouldn't meet current setbacks, but if they bought this other property, now they would. So you can favor a landowner in that case. Or if the sale of the property would allow the adjoining landowner to meet the highest and best use of the adjoining property. So if it's a commercial, if there's a small parcel in a commercial zone, but it can't be used because it's too small for the use, you can favor that neighboring landowner. We've put in here that no parcel can be sold to any entity which owes amounts on a previous year's tax assessment unless they first pay all those outstanding taxes. As a general rule, the county will retain all mineral rights on all parcels, whether they're significant or insignificant. So the point of this is to give, we occasionally have people ask about property that they'd like to buy from the county, or the county looks at a parcel and thinks how's the best way to sell this or to develop it. And the purpose of this is to provide guidance to you and to future commissioners and to the public as to what steps can be followed to sell that property. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to, or concerns. This, I know we haven't discussed this too much. I haven't had a chance to talk to each of you about it. If you have any questions or concerns about it, I'm happy to consider those.
No, I think you did a thorough job explaining that. And we have had a parcel sale since we've been in office, Larry and I, so the guidance on this is very helpful. So I appreciate that, Christian.
Yes, and we've had some requests also for purchase of property that the county owns, so this will help clarify and define what we can do with those parcels that we've had requests on. Any further discussion or questions?
I have none.
I'll make a motion to approve the modifications to Ordinance 516.
I'll second.
All in favor?
So just a minute, that should be a motion to approve Ordinance 516, which is technically a modification of Ordinance 244.
Perfect. I'll make a motion to approve. Well, I thought it was modification. Anyway, motion to approve Ordinance 516.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 10 is a consideration and possible approval of interlocal agreement with Carbon County School District for the use of property for recreational programs.
Commissioners, I'll address this and kind of introduce it. As we all know, the Carbon High School had a softball field and a baseball field, and they've decided to take out the softball field and the old baseball field and create 2 new baseball fields, which are going to be fantastic when they get done and completed. From that, the girls softball has played last season out at the event center or the fairgrounds, and we had some issues at first with all this heavy snow. They got a little excited about getting some practice in, and they took some snow plow trucks out on the field and snow blowers, and there were some issues there. But through all these little things that have come up this year, we've talked about getting an agreement between the county and the school district for them to use the softball fields. This is basically a draft in front of you that we're going to enter into an MOU with the school district, so they will be able to use fields number 3 for their JV and field number 4 for their varsity. There is basic stipulations as far as who's responsible for the maintenance of the fields and who is also responsible for the game day maintenance of the fields, which are 2 separate things. Use of concession stands, use of lights, all of that will be drafted out in this MOU, and we will come to terms as well for the maintenance and cost usage. Say that they want to use the fields during the regular season, but like they did this year, they want to use in some preseason or postseason open field play. If they go at night and use lights, that sort of thing. So that's what the intent of this MOU is to address those issues.
And Commissioners, I got some comments back just late this afternoon from Scott Merrill about some ideas he'd like to see considered. Right now, I think what would be helpful is just to indicate that conceptually you're willing to enter into such an agreement with the school district. That will provide some assurance to the district that this is a go and that we can work towards finalizing an agreement, but that you just consider this a draft at this point that I think we'll need to keep working on before we present it to the district, and perhaps authorize myself, Commissioner Martinez, who's been on the ground on this, and Fairgrounds and Recreation staff to further develop it to the point where it's ready to take to the Carbon School District.
Any further discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we accept this. Well, do we need a motion or just?
I think, yeah, I would like to hear a motion that you agree to enter into negotiations with the school district and to indicate that you're willing to allow the school district to use the fields in the future.
I'll make a motion then. Am I allowed to do that? I'll make a motion to enter into talks and discussions to draft an MOU with the school district.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you, Commissioner Martinez, for all the legwork you've done up to this point, and you'll have quite a bit more, I'm sure, for you done. Any reports from departments tonight? Seth, do you have anything? Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight.
Buckle up and drive safe. Have a great 4th of July.
How close did you come out?